The planet Tecton 5 was a world that refused to be still. It was a jagged, obsidian nightmare of shifting plates and subterranean fire. The ground did not merely support life, it challenged it. At any moment, a mountain could become a valley and a valley could become a tomb. The air was thick with the scent of sulfur and the constant, bone-deep hum of tectonic friction. To any other species, Tecton 5 was a geological catastrophe. To the Terrak-Un, it was their greatest ally. The Terrak-Un were giants of living stone and crystallized muscle. They didn't build cities, they carved them into the moving plates, riding the earthquakes like sailors riding the sea. Their greatest power was the resonance, a biological mastery of seismic vibration. By striking the ground in rhythmic unison, 1,000 Terrak-Un warriors could create a localized earth shatter that could liquefy the soil, collapse mountains, and turn an invading army's fortifications into piles of useless rubble. They believed that the ground was their weapon, and that no creature born of soft flesh could ever hope to stand against the wrath of the world itself. High Shaman Groth stood upon the summit of the ever-shaking peak. He watched the purple-bruised sky as the human fleet descended. They didn't come in sleek, fast ships. They came in bastion ships, huge, ugly, slab-sided blocks of reinforced iron that fell through the atmosphere like falling hammers. They landed with thunderous crashes in the middle of the Great Obsidian Plain, the most unstable region on the planet. They build upon the surface, Groth signaled to his clan lords, his voice a deep, vibrating rumble like stones grinding in a mill. They do not know that the surface is a lie. They bring their heavy metal towers to a place where nothing stays upright. We shall open the mouth of the world and swallow them whole. The human objective was the mantle core crystals, gems formed under such intense pressure that they could power a planetary shield for a century. The Solgov Expeditionary Force, led by General Marcus Concrete Vance, knew exactly what kind of world they were invading. They hadn't brought tanks and they hadn't brought nimble starfighters. They had brought the anchors. As the first human base, Fortress Solis, touched down, it didn't just sit on the dirt. Immediately, the ground around the base erupted as 16 colossal grave anchors, tungsten-tipped piles 40 feet thick, were driven miles into the crust by pneumatic charges that sounded like the end of the world. These weren't just foundations, they were roots of iron. They bypassed the unstable topsoil and bolted the fortress directly into the tectonic heart of the planet. Groth saw the smoke rising from the human camp. He didn't wait. He raised his 6 massive arms and struck the obsidian floor. Behind him, 10,000 Terrak-Un warriors followed suit. Tum, tum, tum. The rhythm was the song of the rending. The ground between the Terrak-Un and the human base began to ripple like water. Cracks miles long opened up, swallowing the jagged rocks. A massive seismic wave, a wall of pure kinetic energy, raced toward Fortress Solis. It was designed to shake any structure until its molecular bonds failed, turning steel into dust and stone into sand. Inside the fortress, the alarms didn't shriek with panic. They hummed with a low, industrial standby tone. General Vance stood on the command deck, his boots magnetically locked to the vibrating floor. He felt the world trying to throw him off. He felt the mountain-sized shockwave hit the base. The base groaned. The sound was a horrific, metallic shriek as the 500,000 tons of iron resisted the movement. But it didn't collapse. The grave anchors held. The massive hydraulic dampers, the size of skyscrapers, located at the base of the fortress began to move. They absorbed the seismic energy, converting the planet's rage into massive amounts of electrical power, which was then fed back into the fortress's weapons systems. Tectonic stability holding at 92%, the AI reported calmly. Shockwave absorbed. Battery banks at full capacity. Kinetic return ready. Vance took a slow, steady breath. He looked at the holographic display of the Terrak-Un army. They were still striking the ground, confused as to why their world shatter had failed. To them, the fortress should have been a memory by now. They're trying to move the ground under us, Vance said, his voice hard and cold. They don't realize that we don't just stand on the ground. We own it. All units engage the piles. Let's show them what a real earthquake looks like. The human counter-seismic units went to work. From the base of the grave anchors, massive ultrasonic vibrators began to pulse. They didn't just vibrate, they sent a cancellation wave back into the crust. It was a frequency designed to disrupt the Terrak-Un's resonance. The ground beneath the alien army, which had been as solid as iron to them, suddenly turned into seismic quicksand. The Terrak-Un warriors stumbled. Their rhythmic strikes were broken as the ground beneath their feet began to liquefy. They were masters of the quake, but they had never encountered a controlled quake. a vibration so precise it could target the specific density of their stone-like bodies. "The ground, it betrays us," a clanlord cried out, his legs sinking into the churning obsidian sand. "The soft skins have stolen the voice of the world. This is the unmovable wall. Humans are the only species in the galaxy that views a geological disaster as an engineering challenge. We didn't evolve to be light and fast, we evolved to build things that last. We spent thousands of years fighting floods, fires, and earthquakes on Earth, and every time the world tried to knock us down, we just built a deeper foundation. We are the architects of the permanent." Vance ordered the final phase. "Engage the harpoons." From the towers of Fortress Solis, hundreds of massive cable-trailing harpoons were launched. They didn't fire at the aliens. They fired at the surrounding mountains and the stable tectonic plates miles away. The cables snapped taut, creating a web of structural tension that turned the entire valley into a single rigid block of reinforced reality. The human base wasn't just a building anymore, it was the anchor point for the entire region. The Terrak-Un tried one last, desperate assault. Groth led his elite guard, leaping across the churning earth, their stone fists glowing with the last of their seismic energy. They reached the walls of the fortress and began to strike. They hit the human armor with enough force to shatter a moon. The human Centurion soldiers didn't move. They stood on the ramparts, their boots locked, their exoskeletons absorbing the impact of the giants' blows. They didn't flinch. They didn't fall. They looked down at the screaming stone giants with the cold, indifferent eyes of a statue. "You're in the way of the drill, Groth," Vance said, his voice projected through the external speakers. The fortress's main battery, a massive seismic pulse cannon, fired. It didn't shoot a beam of light. It shot a focused high-density vibration directly into the chest of the Terrak-Un army. The shockwave was so powerful it didn't just knock them back, it vibrated the moisture out of their crystalline cores. They shattered into a million pieces of inert rock. Groth fell to his knees, his stone skin cracked and bleeding purple energy. He looked at the fortress, then at the human commander standing on the balcony. He realized then that his people had lost not because the humans were stronger, but because they were more stubborn. The Terrak-Un moved with the world, the humans forced the world to stop moving. "You have stilled the heart of the world," Groth rasped, his form crumbling. "There is no more song, only the silence of your iron." "The world can sing all it wants, Groth," Vance replied, looking out over the now stabilized plain. "But my people? We like a solid floor under our feet. And we're not going anywhere." The conquest of Tecton 5 was completed within the month. The Solgov mining consortium didn't just take the crystals, they stabilized the entire planet. They drove millions of grave anchors into the crust, effectively stapling the tectonic plates together. The earthquakes stopped. The volcanoes went dormant. The planet that had been a raging sea of rock was turned into a silent, industrial graveyard of human minds. The Terrak-Un who survived were forced to live in seismic reserves, small areas where the humans allowed the ground to shake just enough for them to survive. They watched from their quiet valleys as the unmovable ones tore the heart out of their world. Humanity had proven the ultimate industrial HFY truth. The universe is a place of chaos, motion, and violent change. But humans are the ones who bring the hammer. We are the ones who drive the stake. We are the ones who look at the shifting tides of reality and say, "Here. We stand here. And we will not be moved." This has been Apex Sci-Fi. Hold your ground that if you enjoyed this final rigid conquest of the unstable world, hit that like button. Comment below, what is the one thing in your life that you would never allow to be moved? Subscribe for our next saga, the Soul Defense Initiative. The ground is still. The fortress is set.